Hymns or profound poems and meditations of Gatina Vishwamitra from Mandala 3, Sukta 1, translated by Sri Aurobindo. Bear me, that I may be strong to hold the wine, O fire, for thou hast made me a carrier, flame of sacrifice, in the getting of knowledge. I shine towards the gods, I put the stone to its work, I accomplish the labour, O fire. Take delight in my body. We have made the sacrifice with its forward movement. May the word increase in us with the fuel, with the obeisance they have set the fire to its work. The heavens have declared the discoveries of knowledge of the seers, and they have willed a path for the strong and wise. Full of understanding, pure in discernment, close kin from his birth to earth and heaven, he has founded the bliss. The gods discovered the seeing fire within in the waters, in the work of the sisters. The 7 mighty rivers increased the blissful flame, white in his birth, ruddy glowing in his mightiness. The mares went up to him as to a new-born child. The gods gave body to Agni in his birth. With his bright limbs he has built wide the mid-world, purifying the will by his pure seer powers, wearing light like a robe around the life of the waters. He forms his glories, vast and ample. He moved all round the 7 mighty ones of heaven, undevouring, inviolate. Neither were they clothed, nor were they naked. Here young and eternal, in one native home, the 7 voices held in their womb the one child. Wide strewn, compact, taking universal forms are his energies in the womb of the light, in the streaming of the sweetnesses. Here the milch cows stand nourished and growing. 2 great and equal companions are the mothers of the doer of works. Upborn, O Son of Force, thou shinest out wide, holding thy bright and rapturous bodies. There drip down streams of the light and the sweetness, there where the bull has grown by the seer wisdom. At his birth he discovered the teat of abundance of the Father. He loosed forth wide his streams, wide his nourishing rivers. He discovered him moving in the secrecy with his helpful comrades, with the mighty rivers of heaven, but himself became not secret in the cave. He carried the child of the Father who begot him. One, he sucked the milk of the many who nourished him with their overflowing. Two, who have one Lord and kinsman, for this pure male of the herds guard both in the human being. Vast was he in the unobstructed wideness, and grew, for the waters many and glorious fed the flame. In the native seat of the truth the fire lay down and made his home, in the work of the companions, the sisters. Like a height upbearing all, in the meeting of the great waters, eager for vision of the sun, straight in his lustres, he is the Father who begot the shining ray herds, the child of the waters, the most strong and mighty fire. One desirable and blissful gave birth to him in many forms, a visioned child of the waters, and a child of the growths of earth. The gods too met with the mind, the fire, strong at his birth, and powerful to act, and set him to his work. Vast sun-blazings cleave like brilliant lightnings to this fire, straight in his lustres, growing as in a secret cave within, in his own home, in the shoreless wideness, and they draw the milk of immortality. Making sacrifice with my offerings, for thee I pray, and pray for thy friendship and true-mindedness with an utter desire. Fashion with the gods protection for thy adorer, and guard us with thy flame forces that dwell in the house. We who come to thee to dwell with thee in thy home, O perfect leader of the way, holding all opulent things, may we, overflowing them with the full stream of inspiration, overwhelm the hostile army of the undivine powers. O fire, thou becomest in us the rapturous ray of intuition of the gods, that knows all seer wisdoms. Established in thy home, thou settlest mortals in that dwelling place, as their charioteer, achieving their aim, thou journeyest in the wake of the gods. In the gated house of mortals the immortal sat as king, accomplishing the things of knowledge. The fire shone out in his wideness with his luminous front, knower of all seer wisdoms. Come to us in rapid approach with thy happy befriendings, mighty. Come with thy mighty protectings. In us the abundance of the delivering riches. For us our glorious, high-worded portion. Create. O fire, these are thy eternal births, which I have declared to thee, ever new births for the ancient flame. Great are the offerings of the wine we have made for the mighty one. He is the knower of all births, set within, in birth and birth. The knower of all births, set within in birth and birth, is kindled by Vishwamitra, an unceasing flame, in the true thinking of this Lord of sacrifice, in a happy right-mindedness. May we abide. O forceful God, O strong will, establish this sacrifice of ours in the gods, and take in it thy delight. O priest of the call, extend to us the vast impulsions. O fire, bring to us by sacrifice the great treasure. O fire, achieve at my call the revealing speech, the many-actioned, the lasting conquest of the light. May there be for us a son of our begetting, pervading in his birth. O fire, may there be created in us that true thinking of thine. There's a full universe of undelimited disclosure, of ripening conceptual and integral realization, of natural and unalienated experience of integral philosophy that can be ripened, realized, enriched, abided with, experienced, lived, and founded, that leaves its trace herein. And we realize it is not for nothing that the wake of the cultural echo resounded so much in and through the mind and soul of Vishwamitra. For the expressions, the recollections, the intuitions of what went before in this parent presence, this continent communion, this integral and undivided, non-dual supreme condition of life and cohesion of cause, that lives everywhere with the richness of its direct presence, allowing that to be the way, the right, the pilgrim path, and also the dearest companion and the supernal Godhead, an unalienated, living, and congruent capacity. Even from this beginning here, ripens into an internal and fulfilling disclosure of witness, which it is doubtless of worth and importance to live, experience, and express again and again. For the depth of living importance that upheld a truth animates the creative disclosure of a mind. If you want to know what caused the current of Parmenides, you see the revealing significance coming to its full birth of the disclosures of his mind. If you want to know what the mind, the unalienated universal mind, in a Newton acquainted itself to, or was drawn to in a Galileo, or in any other, you have to inhabit that creatively to its full capacity. You pay less mind to stories, tales, inventions that were doubtless of a much later date and inconsequential connection. So pouring in to the fullness and richness of that inspiration, this same intensity that is the call and the fuel, the purity and the brightness, the integrity and the deliverance in a Grit Samadha, has this intensity, this fullness of living presence of bliss, this intoxication of the full dimension of its capacity, which is here is voiced as the wine that we must bear. Bear me, that I may be strong to hold the wine, O fire, this primal conversion, presence, and truth. For thou hast made me a carrier flame of sacrifice in the getting of knowledge. And so every organic dimension of the subtlety of the expression has a profound, unfolded basis of relief and revelation. In this sun world, in this one continent and congruent whole, everything is being put to its work in the transition, the conversion, by being a carrier flame in its supreme and supernal presence and truth. So dawning to the getting of knowledge of the Brahman and Brahman, that itself taking to itself kindles all to flame and witness in its undying and uncaused presence of condition and depth, and realizing that that enlivens the full dimension, the human fullness of our condition and capacity. All of these are presently and presciently in the first mouthed utterances roused and indicated, enriched and lived in and sown. Bear me that I may be strong to hold the wine, O fire, for thou hast made me a carrier flame of sacrifice, in the getting of knowledge. So there's not even an individual identity of ownership, it's just the truth of this reality and dimension to itself. And in this, the getting of knowledge, I shine towards the gods, the full divine dimensions and capacities. I put the stone to its work, the single competency of the cohesion of cause, presence, weight, and witness. I accomplish the labor, or I attain to the peace. O fire, take delight in my body. So this primal and unconditioned and resident inhabitant, the uncaused in the uncaused, is that alone that, taking its pleasure in the fulfillment of function, can lead to the redemption and fulfillment of complete purpose and self. We have made the sacrifice with its forward movement. May the word increase in us. So as in the culminating passages read from the tradition of Grit Samada, or related descendants, so anointing with light, giving purity to purity, recollection to that which is to be recollected, so we have made the integration, the fulfillment, the realization of communion, the delivery of the instantiating fuel to the resident eternal of its capacity. We have made the sacrifice, with its forward, its progressive, its involving and positive congruence of fulfillment and limit, with its forward movement. And so may this universal process, this significance, this speaking, this word increase in us, with the fuel, with the obeisance. They have set the fire to its work. So here the mind is recalling the full tradition into which it's set, and to the primary reality and full living association, to this acquaintance and sublimity in principle. It's seeing that it in it roused and redeemed this full essence of margin, giving the fuel, giving the submission to the unalienated and only of its substantial truth. And through that, your pleasure has been gained, your reality has been set to its work. They have set the fire to its work. The heavens have declared the discoveries of knowledge, of the seers, and they have willed a path for the strong and wise. So the unalienated eminence, the unalienated inclusion of the fullness of things, the heavens in this presence have declared these discoveries of knowledge, of integration, of fulfillment, of profound witness to the soul and purpose and pertinent condition of cause of being of the seers. And they have willed a path, this way, this communion, this realization, this integration of being, of sacrifice for the strong and the wise, for those who are competent and complete and congruent. For if it is only attained through the fuel, through the recollection, through the realization, then delivering that fuel to its truth is but a word for which this notion of showing the greatness beyond the accidental and incidental informed the expression that they use of sacrifice. Full of understanding, pure in discernment, close kin from his birth to earth and heaven, he has founded the bliss. So being unconditioned, being full in the greatest dimensions of its capacity, full of understanding, pure in discernment, of guiding to the heart and soul of the purpose of things. So its intimate companionship, its intimate kinship, its intimate living to the reality and truth of manifestation and the soul of eminence to earth and heaven, he recalls the whole in the whole, the entire in the entire. He has founded the bliss, the revel and rapture of this living self-law of truth, of integral reality. The gods discovered the seeing fire within in the waters, in the work of the sisters. And so the full dimension of depth and meditation present herein is profound and requires incredible involvement. So just as it's being unalienatedly the full understanding and discernment to the heart and soul of all occasion, and hence founding the bliss, the revel and rapture of it in itself kindling and going on its way, so the divine reality of this unbroken dimension, of its full communion and collusion of unalienated state, discovers the seeing fire, that which is mount and merge, integration and positive expression, in the waters, in the process, in the work of the sisters. So previously the sisters had been associated with dawn and night, the premonition and the full dimension to be integrated of being. So the communion of these and the waters through the divine dimension seized the heart of this discovery of fire, which gives the basis of the bliss in its appearance. And so in the same way all the dimensions, all the aspects carry in their flow, in the communion and truth, to this one unbreakable in its state. The 7 mighty rivers increased the blissful flame. or increased him in his beauty, white in his birth, ruddy glowing in his mightiness. So it in it, him in himself, is pure, purely present, purely wrought, unconditioned, is white in his birth, in his nature, but in its exercise, in its expression, in that which fuels the tension in intention, that infuses the self-law in its course through the universe, he is ruddy, glowing, red like the penumbra of this eternal in its own dawn. And so the being of transition, of embodiment, of that which is the steed, but that which is to be wedded to this eternal in its truth. The mares, these embodiments in the same intuition and form, went up to him as to a newborn child, as if white in his birth, pure, unconditioned, innocent, and subserved to the heart and soul of occasion. The mares went up to him as to a newborn child. The gods gave body to Agni in his birth, and so this is a feeling through the experience of how this fire was given to birth in its full dimension of nature and state and capacity. And so in such fusion in infusion, pivoted to the purity of its state and life and soul, with his bright limbs, so as limbs, as expressions of his life and exercise in his own being, unparted from it. With his bright limbs he has built wide the mid-world. So mid-world is a term for manifestation, for the communion of all the aspects in the center of sacrifice. He has built wide the mid-world, purifying the will by his pure seer powers. So everything in this motion has the appearance of the glow, of the penumbra, of the premonition that is plunged, purified, accessed in the unfolded inherent self-reality of revelation, which comes to the ingenerable as the heart and full of the nature of birth and being of all in its own reality. And so in this same access, he built wide the mid-world and purifies the will, the essential motivating, animating heart of occasion, by it in it, him and him, by his pure seer powers of unalienated connection of its full limit, wearing light like a robe around the life of the waters. He forms his glories vast and ample. And so all of this is the clothed garment, the revealed nature, that which is set on itself as the consequence of its truth of condition and full capacity. So he wears light like a robe around the life of the waters, around that which gives process its unalienated truth and life, and hence are formed the glory, the marvel, the beauty that is the consequence in his self, vast and ample. He moved all round the 7 mighty ones of heaven, So all these dimensions, he moves around them. They have not been parted from the enfolding, from the comprehending, from the encasing exclusivity of its uncaused condition, measure of depth and nature of reality. He moved round all the 7 mighty ones of heaven, undevouring, inviolate. Neither were they clothed, nor were they naked. So as transitions in the assumption of a life, they're all in all, they're entire in their entire, the dimension of the foundation and expression of their existence is neither clothed nor is it naked. It is involved living through this one containment of its supernal and unbroken presence and reality. And what are they bringing in this revelation, in these aspects that follow from it in its own birth? Here, young and eternal, in one native home, the 7 voices held in their womb the one child. So by this presence of being contained and being made in the unison, undevouring, inviolate, they're ever young and eternal, and bringing this unparted nature of fulfillment, this one child, to birth. And so, the nature of this reality, integration, experience, and truth is wide strewn. It unfolds the full dimension of all things, but at the same time is dense, is compact, is unalienatedly replete with richness of its unalienated and uncaused truth and condition of capacity. It is wide-strewn, compact, taking universal forms, are his energies in the womb of the light, in the streaming of the sweetnesses. So it is pure in itself, white, and in that reality the energy of unison springs. So being direct in itself, and then from that, the flow of relation comprising gives the consequence, that gives the appearance, the presence of process, of flow, of streaming, of the streaming of bliss. Taking universal forms are his energies in the womb of the light, in the streaming of the sweetnesses. Here the milch cows stand nourished and growing. So just as the mare wedded is the steed that comes up to the child in this truth of communion, embodiment and capacity, so another face of embodiment of this ray unparted is the milch cows, those that give nourishment, purity, pure nectar of milk. And they stand nourished in the presence, in the present place, in the real competency of this reality, and growing, fulfilling their full function. 2 great and equal companions are the mother of the doer of works. Upborn, O son of force, thou shinest out wide, holding thy bright and rapturous bodies. So stable in itself, comprehending and delivering the cause of the motion and residence and presence of truth of all things. Upborn, positive and positive, this delivery, this sun, this nature of force. Thou shinest out wide, holding thy bright and rapturous bodies. In this bright rapture all is given, conditioned, comprehended, contained. and from that direct inherent association, the fluidity, like the rain of heaven descending, or here, there drip down streams of the light and the sweetness, exist and pervade, there where the bowl has grown by the seer wisdom. And so here, the nourishment of that inherent male of the herd to which all is wedded gives birth, gives full association, gives the integration of the navel knot of sacrifice to the undergirding pillar, growing that archetypal and universal mind by this seer wisdom which is unalienated from the heart of things. At his birth, from the very beginning, from its inception, he discovered the teat of abundance of the Father, this navel knot of sacrifice, this integrating recollection and communion that gains the nourishment, the purity, the sweetness of this unparted cause at the parent of things. And in such an association, in such a continence and condition of comprising, he loosed forth wide his streams, these streams of dimensions he contains, wide his nourishing rivers, just like the milch cows nourishing. He discovered him moving in the secrecy with his helpful comrades. He's that moving the completeness of the soul and entirety of all things with the mighty rivers of heaven. But himself became not secret in the cave. And here there is an intentional ambiguity of whether we're speaking of the flame, of the fire, of this efficient transition, or to this association with the Father which he discovered the teat of abundance in and from. And as is to be resolved, they are both aspects of one and the same, so it involves them both in this expression. But himself, this undergirding and comprehending truth, and the connection of his realization and resolution of witness, but himself, both the Father and the fire, became not secret, is there to be fully accessed in the cave, in the occasion of manifestation, of opened association and existence. And hence he carried the child of the Father who begot him, this fire. He sucked the milk of the many who nourished him by their overflowing. So being truly unconditioned, unimposed upon, self-radiant, self-sufficient, means that the supernal truth at the heart and whole of all is overflowing, and with that which is overflowing, it can feed, suck the milk of the many, and come to bear the true child of this supernal cause and Father. And so these two who have one Lord and kinsman, for this pure male of the herds, guard both in the human being. It is for us to guard this full association, communion, from the origin to the end, from the focal unison of the entire dimension and occasion of life, to be unalienated and natural, to taste the uncaused cause at the seat and soul and overflowing truth unto the completeness of all in its combining. Hence that fire can come to bear the Son of the Father, and he can suck the milk, the nourishment of the many who nourish in their overflowing. For vast, unimprisonedly ample, vast was he in the unobstructed wideness, and grew, for the waters many and glorious fed the flame. He's undiminished and unimprisoned, and all the flow, all the ebb and tendency, foci, pivot, yoking of process, of the streams, of the waters, feed this unmoved complete continence of this delivering fulfillment of the flame. In the native seat of the truth the fire lay down and made his home. So in the full same expression as was just said, this entire continence of supernal limit, this concordance to the integral attitude, face, resonation, enlivenment, residence in the eternal and in the present and in the life that gives the full horizon of fulfillment to its founding. So this ripening of this child, this nourishing in this overflowing richness of the uncaused truth of all dimension, by being vast and undiminished in itself, and through all process feeding only this in itself, so in the native seat of this universal truth, the fire, its direction, condition, tendency, life and reality, laid down and made his home. In the work of the companions, the sisters, the premonition and the full dimension, the dawn and the night. Like a height upbearing all, like this perspective, like this motivating cause and presence of inherence of full condition of nature and witness, like a height upbearing all, in the meeting of the great waters, the universal process, and eager for the vision of the sun, seeing to its residence of unalienated appearance of full condition and cause of capacity, passing to the other side in itself, fulfilling the dawn with its cause, eager for vision for the sun, straight, direct, inherent. In his lusters, he is the Father who begot the shining ray-herds, the child of the waters, the most strong and mighty fire. He is the one without a second. He is the Father who begat, who begot all the constellations, all the rays that are unparted from their cause, and also the perfect child in its inherence of full aspect of its full process, the child of the waters, and in another witness and presence and intuition and state, the most strong and mighty fire, whose transition, communion, and eating up the fuel to its pure presence and place is one with this unvariable and eternal witness of entire reality. One desirable and blissful gave birth to him in many forms. So this full condition, being both the Father who begot the shining ray-herds, the child of the waters, the most strong and mighty fire, all the completeness of this congruence and presence of state, is born in that one desirable and blissful that gave birth to him in many forms. A visioned child of the waters. And so the visioned child, just like the one nature preserving itself through all the constellations, through the internal self-rule of the harmony of unalienated essence, of foundational being, of divine and inherent mind. So a visioned child of the waters, and a child of the growths of the earth, of the full delivery of manifestation. The gods, too, met with the mind, the fire, the full divine dimensions, the unalienated integral congruence and presence of the mind, are in this unbroken unison with the fire. This fire who's strong at his birth and powerful to act in the fulfilled communion of the fruition of function that from the mare arrives unto the child, that from the milch cow arrives unto the nourishment, that through the instantiation bears the perfect delivery of birth in the unparted father and child. The gods too met with the mind, the fire, strong at his birth and powerful to act, and set him to his work. So everything is of this its own nature of being and process, revelation, stable state, and reality. And so the full harmonization of the richness of unalienated dimension, of the full universe encompassing its unalienated presence and state, to the instantiation of the wedded unison of its full happening, is therein roused, experienced, shown. As vast sun blazings cleave like brilliant lightnings to this fire, straight in his lustres, growing as in a secret cave within his own home, in the shoreless wideness. And they draw the milk of immortality. So what is this churning of the mid-world, the churning of the nectar of all occasion, but fully unalienated, fully unconditioned, fully alive, the full presence of this luminous sun world, of these vast sun blazings of this fusion and infusion, by their own being, by the only of reality, by the unconditioned and uncaused of their full nature of state and self, their sun blazings cleave like brilliant lightnings, like the wedding of this tree of fire to this fire, this ingenerable and universal which we have spoken of through here, straight in his lustres, continent, resident and congruent in his capacity, and the growing, the fulfilling drop by drop to the ocean of its resounded presence and place of continent, cause and capacity, is growing as in a secret cave within his own home in the shoreless wideness. So in the shoreless wideness, because being entirely unconditioned and uncaused, there is no artificial term, no artificial limit, but everything is clothed around him, in him, of him. Accidents do not touch self-luminosity, self-residence, self-radiance, the unconditioned whole truth prevails. And in this, pure to pure, taking to the secret cave within his own home in the shoreless whiteness, they draw the milk of immortality. As previously expressed, this full dimension of association and acquaintance, alone in the wideness, the overflowing, becomes that which tastes the nourishment and ripens this full purposeful alignment, meditation, communion, association at the heart of the self-law into and unto all. And so this is the whole, this is the truth, this is that to be roused, that contains all its episodes and operations, and undivided truth of eminence in its supernal and fulfilling living capacity. And so, making sacrifice with my offerings, for thee I pray, and pray for thy friendship and true-mindedness with an utter desire. All of this, all the fulfillment, all the realization, all the liberation, integration, every aspect of my existence is only capable and possible by you taking your full seat, this full way, this full dimension, this full revelation of stability, presence, place, mind, of full capacity. And so it's asking for you and you to take the full me and me, making sacrifice with my offerings. For thee I pray, and pray for thy friendship, this full association to this revealed witness of communion and truth, for thy friendship and true-mindedness with an utter desire to, as you wed this entire universal unalienated dimension into these brilliant lightnings, into this kindred fire, so wed the unalienated truth of purposeful dimension to my fulfilled witness of living compass and unalienated capacity. And this is the true intuition, the utter desire that is beyond the accidents, the associations with accidents, of our assumption and instantiation of place. So fashion with the gods protection for thy adorer, and guard us with thy flame forces that dwell in the house. And so here there comes a ripeness that is beyond the accidents of its association mindfully, as it was the Father, the Son, and this full dimension of fire, so the universal in this birth, the truly alive, overtakes accidental aspects to our full being of being in ourselves. We who come to thee, to dwell with thee in thy home, for that is the whole that we just spoke of. This continent call, this communing condition of it going on its way to the heart and fulfillment of all capacity, is such that we come to thee, we come to this realization of this being and state of our inmost communion and nature, to dwell with thee, to this eternal in the heart of all things, in thy home, this occupation of thy uncaused and comprehending reality. And hence, in this and of this, you become the perfect leader of the way. And so, O perfect leader of the way, holding all opulent things, may we, overflowing them with the full stream of inspiration, overwhelm the hostile army of the undivine powers. And so just as the truth of the overflowing in this unconditioned and uncaused was that which nourishes and sucks the milk and draws this eternal birth to form, so even beyond all the richnesses of opulence, we must overflow, we must exude with the richness beyond them, for that truth in it, for this fire to bear this ripening of entire dimension and presence of integral fulfillment and realization. We who come to thee to dwell with thee in thy home, O perfect leader of the way, holding all opulent things, may we overflowing them with the stream, the full stream of inspiration, overwhelm the hostile army of the undivine powers, of all the appearances and aspects of things that have not been realized to the truth of their divine nature and presence. O fire, thou becomest in us the rapturous ray of intuition. This is what this reality is, this acquaintance consists of, this full purposeful cradling the full dimension of its life to its integrating revelation and fulfillment of entire relation and assumption, is that this reality, O fire, thou becomest in us the rapturous ray of intuition of the gods, the divine dimensions that know all seer wisdoms. For if in the heart of all things the full horizon is undyingly brought to light, and that sits centrally resident and radiant, including and comprehending all condition and cause, so this unalienated dimension of full capacity becomes the rapturous ray of intuition that comes to be one with the fulfillment of this seer wisdom of entire nature. For fire, thou becomest in us the rapturous ray of intuition of the gods that knows all seer wisdoms. For established in thy home, thou settlest mortals in that dwelling place. So being established there in us, in all things, all becomes settled, all becomes drawn, all becomes nourished, all becomes grown and fulfilled, born and bared to this innermost and undivided essential communion of universal truth. Established in thy home, thou settest mortals in that dwelling place. As their charioteer achieving their aim, thou journeyest in the wake of the gods. So you're the guide, the charioteer that takes to this heart of fulfillment of essence, the full and unalienated divine dimension, the truth of revelation and rapture of witness, of this full dimension of the sun blazings cleaving like brilliant lightnings to the fire in the interior and universal, eminent and unconditioned truth and cause of the dimension of things. In the gated house, so in this that has to be opened, where you have your inhabitation, where the true essence reveals itself behind the gate of happening of things, in the gated house, manifestation, incarnation, witness, in the gated house of mortals, the immortal, sat as king, accomplishing the things of knowledge, this perfect fulfillment, this perfect suchness that can ripen the unalienated dimension of a life to its inclusive and unconditioned cause of entire reality, ripening the acorn and reflecting the whole inherent and universal witness of wisdom of the profound universe into and unto its unalienated self. So in this being the king, so this immortal nature accomplishes all things seated in the gated house, all these things, this whole aspect of constellation, of communion, of presence and residence, of dimension, these things of knowledge. the fire shone out in his wideness with his luminous front. Knower of all seer wisdoms, everything is reposed in this self-nature and self-reality. So, in such a way, in such a life and presence and communion and course, come to us in a rapid approach, like fire awoken to the truth and soul and harbour of things. Come to us in a rapid approach with thy happy befriendings. Taking this abiding, timeless universality of full connection and its befriending to the truth of its relation and fulfillment of witness. Come to us in a rapid approach with thy happy befriendings, mighty, come with thy mighty protectings, containing the impulsion, the cause, and the condition of all occasion. For in us, in the truth of our truth, in the being of our being, in us the abundance of the delivering riches, for us our glorious, high-worded portion create. We are open to this universal mystery. We are requiring of the fulfillment of this universal passage. Both the key and the lock are aspired unto. The communion of connection is not to be forsaken. The integration of the full aspect of the riches of this entire state are here alive into us in our truth. And our high-worded portion, this infinite reflective resolution of awareness and consciousness, presence of intuition of nature and being and self, all this has to be fulfilled by this full association of you and you in your creation's condition, your timeless reality of fulfillment and comprising. O fire, these are thy eternal births, which I have declared to thee. And this is precisely what is being done herein. Ever new births for the ancient flame. Great are the offerings of the wine we have made for the mighty one. This full blissful inception, this full realizing of its nature and its truth, only fulfilled in the continent and contiguous call of its unalienated capacity. Such is this whole endeavor of the being, of the nature, of the sacrifice, of the human endeavor. O fire, these are thy eternal births. These are your births, your nature, yourself, which I have declared to thee. Ever new births for the ancient flame. Great are the offerings of the wine we have made for the mighty one. He is the knower of all births set within, in birth and birth. This fire, this timeless unconditioned Father, this ever-ripening sun, the proportion of its constants in bringing the full radiance of these sun-blazings that are vast, cleaving to the timeless parent stock of the sameness in its own source. This is birth in birth. The knower of all births, set within in birth and birth, is kindled by Vishwamitra. This is that which we're associating ourselves to, this ever-living fire, this unceasing flame, and this which consists in the right being, the correct passage, the full unalienated living, in the true thinking of this Lord of sacrifice, in a happy, right-mindedness. May we abide, may we not deviate, may we consist in this, through this, of this, in its richness of living presence, of full communion of state and entire reality. O forceful God, O strong will, establish this sacrifice of ours in the gods, and take in it thy delight. Only this in you, only the full conformity to the divine dimension of our integrating condition of fulfillment and expression and awareness, and taking your delight in your eternal state, completes the circuit of the ark, shows the truth past the glorious lid of its appearance, allows the unconditioned to fulfill past the radiance to the resident truth of its functioning. O forceful God, O strong will, establish this sacrifice of ours in the gods, and take in it thy delight. O priest of the call, extend to us the vast impulsions, this universal and undiminished elicitation, this universal and uncaused and unconstrained impulsion that brings the full vividness and richness of realization and awareness, unbroken from the full call and unison of state of its entire reality. O true agent, O priest of the call, give to us, extend to us the vast impulsions. O fire, bring to us by sacrifice that in which this fulfillment abides, this liberation, this fulfillment, this great treasure. And how and wherein and what life is this awoken? O fire, achieve at my call the revealing speech, the full process of entire intellectual revelation of meaningful being that draws this course and compass and universality to its access of living life and basis. O fire, achieve at my call the revealing speech, the many-actioned that gives all the dimensions of fruition and life through itself, the lasting conquest of the light, this purity on purity, unbrokenly intuited, appreciated, understood and founded. And therein may there be for us a son of our begetting, pervading in his birth, only taking its full presence in itself, pervading the eternal and undying to its unvariable truth, is competency of realization gained to the end of its attainment. So only the full intention of the spark, being awoken to the parent perfection of both the parent cause and the perfect birth, can possess it beyond its angles unto itself. And so may there be for us this communion, integration, resolution, this final perfection of all soul and offering, this Son of our begetting, who we are ever being born and delivering unto, pervading in his birth, for this is the presence and state of his full reality. O fire, may there be created in us that true thinking of thine, this immortal and timeless happening, this full and continent cause, which in its right thinkings comes to the nature and soul of all being and limit. And so ripened the internal necessity of fulfilling acquaintance, of integration, of natural philosophy and depth of unified and integral being, from the springboards and in the communion of Gritsamadas and Bharadwajas, here in this most glorious soul and name, came to its integration, basis of drawing us to the unalienated richness of full relation in life, of that which comprehends and comprises, and gives to dignity's establishment, at this, the soul of all things.